Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we are going to look at the massive update in the case of Kylen and Crystal Beck. They were murdered almost 9 months ago, so I'm so relieved for their family, for their friends, for everyone who knew them, and of course for everyone covering the case, all of us so invested in this, that finally a person of, not even a person of interest, a suspect has been named. It's 44-year-old Adam Pinkusiewits, and sadly, he unalived himself. Sadly, because that to me feels like no justice. However, I'm happy to hear that Kylen's father, Paul Schulte, is over the moon. That finally a suspect has been named. He says that justice has been served because the guy is no longer alive. So I'm happy that finally they have some relief and closure. If this is your very first time stumbling upon this case and you have no idea what I'm talking about, please check out the playlist that I've linked below for you. There's 7 videos on there so far, so this would be the 8th one, where we not only spoke with Crystal Beck's family, but we also deep dived the timeline. We did map time. We looked at all the social media pages we could. And yes, so we've been following this very, very much from the beginning. And I too feel like, oh my word, finally, a suspect is named. So let's get into it. I'll do a quick recap as we go along uncovering this new information. So on August 18th, 2021, the bodies of married couple, and they were newly married. They only got married on April 20th, 2021. They were so in love. This was the most senseless, callous, brutal crime, just filled with so much hatred. The bodies of these two were found on the LaSalle mountain range in Moab, Utah. And both victims were killed by gunshot wounds all over their bodies. And they were both shot apparently 6 times each, which is just like such a hateful criminal doing this. And they were both naked from the waist down. Kylen's body was found in a very shallow and narrow creek close to where they were camping. And Crystal's body was found quite close to that as well. Now, both of them were van lifers. They'd sold everything, bought this van, converted it. Kylen worked at the Moonflower Co-op. Crystal worked at a McDonald's in Moab. And that brings us to the suspect, Adam Pinkusiewits, because he worked there too. And while, the sheriff is saying, which we'll look at the clip in a moment, that he doesn't know if they ever worked the same shift or if they really ever knew each other, Crystal's family has come forward to say that actually they even had a little fight before, because apparently Crystal went into the McDonald's the one day just to get something to eat, and this Adam dude was not having it. He was not happy about it, which he was only in the area for a few months, working at McDonald's. I don't know why he was so upset by this. Apparently he is also very homophobic, which is not something that I'm shocked by. It seems like this was a hate crime, as we'd always suspected, which is just horrible. So they were murdered on August 14th, 2021, in broad daylight. That was the shocker that we uncovered about a month ago when Jason Jensen said there was audio that revealed there were gunshots heard and screams heard at 11:35 a.m. on August 14th. We also found out about a month ago that the last time they were seen alive was not on August 13th at Woody's Tavern, where yes, Gabby and Brian apparently were, but on August 14th in the morning, just 2 hours before they were murdered, at a gas station where a friend saw them, and Crystal was joking that she was teaching, Kylen how to ride the motorbike and all that. So they seemed happy and healthy and were going back to camp to move their campsite because of the creeper. This creeper dude, which I'm still just a little bit confused as to why they refer to him just as the creeper instead of like Adam. But maybe Crystal didn't really know him by name or know him too well, or maybe she didn't work any shifts with him. She was just like, why is this dude angry? Maybe he's just a creeper. I suppose someone like that, it's pretty normal to refer to them in that way, right? Now, their bodies were discovered on August 18th, 2021, so 4 days later, by Cindy Sue Hunter. One thing that still sticks in my mind is the car that she saw kind of driving around the area, which she described as a dark blue car or a dark colored car. Now, interestingly enough, 44-year-old Adam Pinkusiewits' car is a 2007 black Yaris. So it really could have been that car. We just don't know. He left the state of Utah shortly after the murders. And then, wherever he found work next, he told one of his colleagues that he murdered 2 women in Utah. And then about a month after their murders, after he'd now moved out of state, he unalived himself. So, again, while I feel like, man, another freaking coward who does such horrendous things and then unalives himself, I'm very happy to hear that Sean Paul Schulte is relieved, he's happy, he's over the moon. He says that he feels like justice has been served, of course, if this is absolutely the guy, because he's no longer here to live this life. He's not alive. So I'm happy to hear that the family's happy. I myself am not happy. I would have loved to see him be held accountable. Now again, I know there's going to be a percentage of us that will always have that little bit of doubt that we feel like it could still be Brian Laundrie. The reason is, just to explain to anyone who wonders why do people think it's Brian Laundrie, is because Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie were seen fighting outside the Moonflower Co-op on August 12th. And then there was the Moab body cam footage and that whole incident that we know all about. We know that Kylen was working that day, so would have seen them. We also know that they were all seen, Kylen, Crystal, Gabby, and Brian, at Woody's Tavern on August 13th, and that was at the time, the last known time that Kylen and Crystal were seen alive. And the next morning, they were murdered. Initially, it was suspected that they were murdered sometime in the middle of the night. So that is why that timeline overlap is very interesting. And of course, with their bodies being discovered on the 18th, but with Brian going back to Florida from the 17th to the 23rd, which we still don't know what he did, that is what pulls us all in back into that rabbit hole of like, but it could be, right? Okay, so continuing on, we're looking now at Adam Pinkusiewits, 44 years old, former employee at the McDonald's in Moab, only for a few months. He too was a van lifer, but I don't really think he was a true van lifer. I think he was more like homeless, living out of his 2007 Yaris, and then maybe having a tent or a hammock and camping out. There's a little bit of a difference between actual van lifing and off-grid living and being homeless. It's a fine line, but it's a little bit different, right? So yes, as I said, he left Utah shortly after. He was actually a person of interest named early in this case, not publicly named, but the police knew about him. And you know what? Remember the clue booth that Kylen's dad set up? He received this name early in the case. And you know what shocked me and gave me goosebumps? Is that someone, and I can't find the email now, so if you're that one person that sent me an email, please forward it to me again so I can actually see the dates and everything. But someone sent me an email early on in the case saying it was Adam. Literally this guy. They sent pictures from his Facebook. They showed exactly how he looked. They showed everything and they're like, this is the guy. And guess what? It's the guy. I mean, wow. Well, it's the suspect that's been named. So, man, they also won't tell us exactly where the car was found, from what I understand. I'm trying to figure out, well, where did he go? Where was he hanging out afterwards? But yes, the other timeline overlap is that he unalived himself about a month after the murders, which would be around the time that Gabby Petito was officially reported missing and around the time that her body was found. So that is also interesting. You know, there's always going to be little room for speculation there. You know? Now, as we know, Dog the Bounty Hunter had recently headed out to Moab. Brian Enton had also been there and, you know, tried to get answers there. He said a lot of people in Moab weren't really talking. It's a small community. Everyone was probably scared to talk. But this person wasn't a local in Moab. This suspect, Adam Pinkusiewits, he was literally there for a few months and then left again. So, I don't know if that's why they were scared, or they're just like, I don't know if it's someone amongst us. But Dog the Bounty Hunter was out there, and I will show you a clip of that as well. And Sean Paul Schulte and Jason Jensen, the PI, believe that the pressure that Dog the Bounty Hunter, Dwayne Chapman, has now put on the police, to kind of walk in there and crack the case, that pressure is what caused them to now be like, okay, no, we actually have the name of a suspect, which is interesting. I think it's great to keep the pressure on, which is kind of what we do, I suppose, as content creators, YouTubers, even news reporters, the media in general. We like to keep the pressure on these cases, because the last thing we want is for these types of cases, any cases, to be forgotten about. That's the worst thing that can happen to a case, is just for everyone to forget about it, because without the pressure there, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Is that how it goes? We used to say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I think gets the grease. Whichever saying, that one. We got to keep that wheel squeaking. Okay, so let's have a look at what the sheriff said, because he also provided a lot of information in what he said just yesterday.
At this point, it's still all being investigated. We're not ruling anything out at this point.
Did he work with Crystal?
They both worked at McDonald's. The indications we have is we don't know if they ever worked shifts together. It doesn't seem like it. They were off of each other, but they were both employees at McDonald's.
Any idea on any relationship he had with either of them?
None at this point. It's like I said, it's still all being investigated.
Do you believe you recovered the weapon involved?
We have not recovered it yet. That is still being looked for.
Was he transient? Did he have a drug
Yes,
use?
he kind of what they call the van lifestyle. He was one of these guys that he kind of camped out everywhere. So I think his address here was the post office.
Do you know if he'd been in the area a long time?
A few months is what we have.
Can you talk about what led to this breakthrough in the case at this point? 9 months into it?
It's just police work. We kept following up on leads. That he was one that we've been trying to find for a long time. So we'd read some information of where we thought he was at, which it turned out that where we went, we found out that, well, we'd located his car, and that's when we found out that he'd committed suicide. When we located his car.
Where were you able to locate his car, Sheriff?
We're not disclosing that at this time.
Do you know when he died by suicide?
I do, but I don't have the dates with me right now. It was September 24th. Was it 21st or 24th?
Within a
Month of the hunt. Yes.
Do you know where he?
We're not disclosing that at this point either.
Did you have help from cooperating agencies?
Yes, and I'd like to give a big thank you to the FBI, to Unified Violent Crimes Task Force, Sheriff Rivera, County Attorney's Office, SBI. It's been a team effort, and will continue to do so.
This case got some more publicity this week with the presence of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Have you talked to him at all?
No, not at all. No contact at all.
Between your office and his
No.
team?
No.
Just thought I'd ask.
Nope.
How does it feel to be able to bring some closure to the families after all this?
I will feel better when we have a total closure on this, but it's a huge relief. I can't put it into words right now. I'm so proud of, my staff's working hard. They've never quit. They've kept this going. There hasn't been a day that we haven't worked on this.
How does this stack up in your career in terms of dealing with assaults?
This is a big one. This is pretty big.
Anything else you'd say to the public at this point?
Like I say, any information, please come forward. We want to know anybody that had contact with him or might have seen that vehicle on the mountain or even in town. We'd like to talk to them. And we want to tell the public thank you for their continued support of supporting us in our office.
Now, I would say that dash cam footage is still very important. So if you were in the LaSalle mountain area on August 14th, or even from the 12th to the 17th, or even for that month after, and you saw a 2007 black Toyota Yaris, I mean, you might have some clues that are essential. So please remember that tips are still being accepted. They still need to properly investigate and close this case. So if you were there and you're looking through your footage and you have something like that, or you saw something, remember to please say something. Okay, let's look at the clip now of Dog the Bounty Hunter having his say.
This is unbelievable. We're looking for the murderer of Crystal and Kylen. We're in Moab, Utah. We've already started developing leads. We think we know what kind of gun it was they were murdered with. Now listen, this is not a normal, is murder ever normal? 6 shots apiece. We're gonna catch this guy or this girl or these guys. We got some really good information. Now, we need you to call 833-TELL-DOG. Number 1, large cash reward. Number 2, confidential. We're not saying nothing. Number 3, are they going to get arrested? Once we can prove it, absolutely. This city is unbelievably beautiful. Everyone here is so friendly. Everyone thought it might have been someone that drove through. It looks to us like it was someone local. 833-TELL-DOG. This is the beginning of the investigation. We know they're out there. And we know, and they know, we're going to find them. Our investigation skills are unbelievable. We have also divine intervention. We are here to help solve the murder of 2 women. The gross murder.
The Grand County Sheriff's Office has identified 44-year-old Adam Pinkusiewits as a suspect in the murders of Kylen and Crystal Turner. The newlyweds were camping in the LaSalle Mountains. Their bodies were found with multiple gunshot wounds on August 18th of last year. Pinkusiewits was a former employee at a McDonald's where Crystal Turner worked. Just outside of downtown Moab, where members of the community hung flyers asking others for any information they can provide.
The sheriff's office had learned that Mr. Pinkusiewits was in the LaSalles and Moab at the time of the homicides and had left the state of Utah shortly after the homicides.
Pinkusiewits had been identified early in the investigation as a person of interest. However, investigators were unable to locate him.
GCSO conducted numerous interviews and recently received information that prior to committing suicide, Mr. Pinkusiewits told another party that he had killed 2 women in Utah and provided details that were only specific to the investigators in the case.
After they were able to locate his vehicle out of state, the Grand County Sheriff's Office learned he had committed suicide last September, roughly a month after the bodies of Kylen and Crystal were found.
9 months to get to this point and we're not done yet.
The weapon used in the crime is yet to be recovered.
I will feel better when we have a total closure on this, but it's a huge relief.
The Sheriff's Office says they're continuing to process newly discovered evidence, like Pinkusiewits' vehicle, a 2007 Toyota Yaris.
I just think
Wednesday's news brought a moment of joy for Kylen's father, Sean Paul Schulte, who, while trying to grieve, had put in countless hours trying to gather tips from the community.
I can't believe I picked up a clue on Adam Pinkus in my clue booth in the park. I cannot believe it. The only other thing I can say is that I hope they can process the evidence and close the case.
you guys have helped me already start to heal.
Okay, let's look at this article now from the Moab Sun News, where they say, man confessed to LaSalle murders before unaliving himself, Sheriff's Office reports. A man confessed to killing Moab couple Kylen Schulte and Crystal Turner before taking his own life, the Grand County Sheriff's Office has reported. The 2 women were shot at their campsite in the LaSalle Mountains last August. So here you can see a picture of his car and, of course, pictures of him. He does make the butterflies, but not in, when your heart sinks and that anxiety starts going in your stomach, when just looking at him, I'm like, yeah, he looks pretty scary. In a May 11th statement, the sheriff's office named Adam Pinkusiewits as a suspect in the murders which rocked the Moab community. Pinkusiewits was a former employee at the McDonald's where Turner worked and fled the state shortly after the crime. The GCSO learned that Adam Pinkusiewits was in the LaSalles and Moab at the time of the homicides, the statement said. Officials made numerous attempts to locate Pinkusiewits before discovering that he'd actually died, the office said. Prior to taking his own life, Pinkusiewits told another party that he had killed 2 women in Utah, the sheriff's office said. Reportedly, the suspect provided details of the crime not made public, so I wonder what that was. Officials said the case is not closed. Anyone with information regarding Pinkusiewits or his vehicle, a black 2007 Yaris, should call the sheriff's office at 435-259-8115. Now here is a picture of where a stone memorial was also placed here. And I say also because, as we know, we saw this where Gabby Petito was murdered. There was a stone memorial. And just because of the overlap in the cases and because that was such a beautiful sentiment and everything, I believe then this was also done later, right? By Kylen and Crystal's family. I mean, look how beautiful this area is. And I mean, it must have been so nice to camp here and just live such a beautiful and free life, in love, saving towards getting home together. And then some douchebag just came along and decided, nope, I don't like it. And it seems like, why would he unalive himself? Like, did the guilt eat him up alive? Like, what did he actually feel remorse and guilt and shame? I mean, why would he unalive himself after this? Why would he even do this? To me, the motive is hatred. It's a hate crime. He had something personal against Crystal and, of course, the gay community. Sadly. So based on the reward that would lead for information that would lead to arrest and conviction, of course, that's not going to happen now, is it? You know, because the police have released this information and they're still going to investigate, of course, to figure out if it really was Adam Pinkusiewits, which is the suspect that they've named, but it seems like there won't be a reward given. Now here is a closer look of the car. I mean, is this in, like, is it in a warehouse? I'm trying to see exactly where this would be parked. It's super dusty, of course. It must have been left there for a long time. Very interesting. And here is a close-up of the suspect. Now, what's interesting is that Jonathan Riches and Bullhorn Betty, which I know even just saying those names might trigger some people. You might be like, no, no, no. But they were in Moab already in November. And Bullhorn Betty sat down with McDonald's workers and they told her about this creepy man who was working with Crystal. So Adam Pinkusiewits was identified by authorities today as the person who killed Kylen Schulte and Crystal Turner in Moab around August 14, 2021. We learned about Pinkusiewits back in November 2021 when a McDonald's co-worker of Crystal Turner told us about him. We reported him immediately to Grand County Sheriffs. They waited 6 months to act. Shame. At least the families can finally get closure. So you can actually watch this on the Bullhorn Betty channel. I watched it. Go check it out. It's actually quite interesting. And then lastly, I just want to show you this for confirmation. Sheriff Stephen White, Chief Deputy Daryl Meckham, Jail Commander Shan Hackwell, Office of the Grand County Sheriff. Grand County Sheriff's Office has identified Adam Pinkusiewits as a suspect in the double homicide of Kylen Schulte and Crystal Turner Beck. They say Beck Turner. Adam Pinkusiewits was a former employee at the McDonald's that Crystal worked at, located in Moab, Utah. Adam Pinkusiewits was identified at that time as one of many persons of interest being investigated by the GCSO, and the GCSO made numerous attempts to locate and interview Adam Pinkusiewits. Now we know why they couldn't find him. He was no longer with us. Through continued analysis and collection of evidence, the GCSO learned that Adam Pinkusiewits was in the LaSalles and Moab at the time of the homicides and had left the state of Utah shortly after the homicides and then later took his own life. GCSO conducted numerous interviews and recently received information that prior to doing this, Adam Pinkusiewits told another party that he had killed 2 women in Utah and provided specific details that were known only to investigators. Although Adam Pinkusiewits has been identified as a suspect, this is still an ongoing investigation and the case is not closed. So, yeah, we've got to still keep an open mind here. GCSO continues to process critical and newly discovered evidence in this case, including processing Adam Pinkusiewicz' vehicle that was recently located and seized. The GCSO is looking for any information regarding Adam Pinkusiewicz or his vehicle, a 2007 Yaris, and requesting anyone with information to contact GCSO. Further information will be forthcoming once additional investigation is completed. Please call the Sheriff's Office with any information at 435-259-8115.
It was a clue that came in on my clue booth months and months ago. He admitted to doing it to a friend. He gave details that only the killer would know, and then he killed himself.
Are you feeling any sort of closure?
Oh, man. I cannot tell you. I can heal now. The girls are resting in peace now.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add? I know you said that you just had a little bit of time, so.
I just want to thank the Grand County Sheriffs, the Utah Crime Unit, the FBI, and I want to thank Dog the Bounty Hunter for answering my prayers and coming here and helping us push this movement right to where we got today, which is the sheriffs had to tell us they knew who it was before Dog did.
And here we have a picture of Dog the Bounty Hunter, Dwayne Chapman. I know, again, this could be a triggering topic for some people. You either love him or you hate him. I like him. And I just think, if you don't like him, then you probably don't like YouTubers covering cases either. You know what I mean? Because we all go in the same kind of pot where it's like content creators heading out, boots on the ground. That's what he is. Going out there to, investigate as just a person asking questions or keeping the pressure on, which I think can be very valuable. So I don't think that him heading out there had no impact whatsoever, especially on the timing of the sheriff now coming forward and saying, "Oh, okay, we've got a suspect. This is his name, age. This is what happened." It's all interesting. Put it this way: if I lived in the United States, okay, can someone please make that happen? Thank you. If I lived in the United States and I headed out to Moab and was sitting down with a family and stomping around, asking questions, there's going to be people that either really love me for it or really hate me for it too, So it's these media personalities that sometimes, of course, it's normal to have that love and that hatred, the haters, the supporters and all of that, as we all do. I mean, we all have it as content creators too. There's people that would absolutely hate my guts and I would irritate them to no end. Some of them find it necessary to email me but all the ways that I annoy them. So it happens in every single industry, but especially I think in the media when you put yourself out there in the spotlight, right? Well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to literally the hundreds of Grizzlies that sent me emails with either the links to this case. Links are not always the most useful because if you're just throwing a link, sometimes I'm like, well, if I have 100 people doing that, sometimes it prevents me from seeing really important emails. So it's much better to put an actual subject line, and then in case you haven't seen this or this is what this is about, it would be really helpful. Of course, big outlets, Court TV, News Nation, WFLA, those types of things, I always see it. I've got all my notifications turned on. I see that type of stuff. If there's something else you're digging out that you think I might not have seen, that is the most useful. So thank you so much to every single Grizzly who sent me messages on Twitter. Make sure to follow me there, @GrizzlyGisela. On TikTok, make sure to follow me there, @GrizzlyTrueCrime. And Fury also has a page. That's the Grizzly Goals one. Fury's got his own page now. The name will change shortly to something related to Fury. But yes, on TikTok, on Instagram, Grizzly True Crime. Who sent me emails, grizzlytruecrime@gmail.com. Like, my word, the tsunami of messages was amazing. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for watching. Please do like this video. Please share it as well. Share it on social media so that the video can actually get out there, so that this news can actually spread. I know it's everywhere right now, but you never know who's never heard of this case. Doesn't that fascinate you? Imagine if you're talking to someone, I don't know, I can bet you that if I walk out the store, okay, and I go to the grocery store and I ask 100 people if they've heard of the Gabby Petito case, probably none have. Now, I know I'm in the Netherlands, but still. Do it. If you're in America, do it, and you'll see. Some people missed it altogether. Can you believe it? Because we're like so immersed in these cases, right? And invested in them. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support. I really appreciate you so much. Again, thanks to everyone who's a YouTube member, who's a Patreon, who supports me on PayPal, the most direct way to support me. Buy me a coffee, buy my merch, the books and all that stuff. I really appreciate it so much. The most important way to support me is to view my videos. That's the number one way to really support the channel. Hitting subscribe is awesome. Hitting the thumbs up, great. Sharing, very, very important. But mostly watching. That's really what's so, so important. So thank you for watching. Thank you for investing a part of your day in watching stuff that I make, that I work very hard to make, but thank you so much. I will see you very soon. Stay safe. Remember, keep it snarky, keep it grizzly, and I will see you soon. Bye.